Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our honourable guest for the evening, Zeenat Aman. Zeenat Aman, welcome to the UK Asian Film Festival 2019. It's an absolute honour to have you here opening this wonderful gala. So tell us, how are you feeling being here tonight in London?
Namaskar, good evening. I am absolutely delighted and honoured to be here this evening. It's the 21st version of the film festival this year, and it's very special to me because it's about revolution, and I'm glad that Pushpinder and Samir felt that in some way my career symbolized a revolution in the Indian film industry, so I'm really deeply honoured to be here.
And so are we. I think there's going to be lots of claps and lots of cheers through the evening. Like you said, revolution, that is a theme for the festival this evening. Would you have ever imagined yourself as being one of the revolutionary actresses of Hindi cinema?
Anushka, nothing was planned at all. Nothing at all. I mean, things just happened, in a very generic way. It just moved and flowed. And there were opportunities, and I, as an actor, seized those opportunities, and sometimes, it worked out.
It absolutely did. Now, I want to take you back to your childhood days. So I think we're going to rewind back to childhood in Panchgani. Tell us, what were you like as a child?
In Panchgani, I had a bit of a rebellious streak. It was a boarding school. We were doing all these midnight feasts, hiding tuck and getting together, and that was a big deal. So I think the nuns decided to give me a responsibility, so they made me head girl, prefect, and I really straightened out. Yeah. They said, that's the troublemaker, give her all the responsibility, she'll be the police lady for everybody else.
Now, I heard you had quite a strong interest in journalism, although you didn't really study that. Why was the interest there, and how did you getting into movies happen?
Journalism was quite temporary. It's because I loved to write. I had academic bent of mine, and so I would write, and it was interesting, but it was brief. And sorry, what was the second part of your question?
You had a keen interest in the field, although you didn't study it, but how did you kind of get into movies? How did movies happen for you?
Movies, I think I was modeling. I had a lot of very important campaigns in the country. I was doing print and TV modeling, and I won a beauty contest. I stood second in that contest, actually, in India. And they sent me to Manila to participate in the Asia Pacific contest. So I won that and came back, and that opened many doors.
And then, I think it was Husband was the first movie that you actually signed.
Yeah, I signed that before I won the contest.
Right.
And Mr. Obi Radhan, who knew my father very well, he felt that that was not the correct platform for me. So he introduced me to Devanand, who was looking for somebody to play the part of just be Janice in Hare Rama Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and Hare Rama Hare Krishna, I mean, it was just... Tell us a little bit about your journey in that film and what it was like being on set, because obviously this was the beginning for you, right?
Yes, it was. I mean, I was over the moon when I was selected. I wasn't very familiar with the language that I was working in. I'm sorry to say, I was a convent girl and didn't speak Hindi too clearly. And Devanand, he took my first screen test in English, but his cameraman approved, and so I was signed. And it was appropriate for the part of this girl from Canada who runs away to Kathmandu and becomes a hippie. Uh, and yeah, so there was a bunch of us newcomers, and he wouldn't shoot with us, and we were really getting frustrated because we were just watching him and Mumtaz, working all the time. But we learned a lot during that period from observing them. So when it came to our turn, which was almost about 2-3 weeks into the shooting, we were really raring to go. Yeah.
And you mentioned the language stuff. You weren't quite comfortable, speaking Hindi. How did you eventually overcome that then?
Trial and error. I played a lot of very westernized roles, and the Angrezi main. With the lal kapdon wali main saab with the red boots and the short skirts. So, and apologizing in the mandir and buttoning up and saying, sorry, Bhagwan, and all that. So I think the audiences accepted me in that genre. So, but then over a period of time, even as an actor, you hone your craft, you learn how to hit your marks, take the lights, be natural in your interaction with your co-star. So over a period of time, and I worked for many, many years, I honed my craft and I learned the language, and today I speak fairly decently.
Now, we can't not talk about the song Dam Aaro Dam. Tell us about that. I mean, it's still so iconic until today. I play it on my radio show, we listen to it, we dance to it. At weddings, it still gets played. I mean, did you ever think at that time when you were shooting for that it was going to be massive?
Anushka, I had the good fortune of having R.D. Burman, who was an iconic music director, and Asha Bhosle. I mean, they created magic. I mean, Asha ji sang a lot of my songs, and a lot of those songs worked, and he did the music for a lot of my films. And I feel very fortunate as an actor, especially from commercial Hindi cinema, where music is such an integral part of everything that you do, to have the kind of songs that I did, whether it was Dam Aaro Dam or Chura Liya or Nazia Hassan's Aap Jaisa Koi. So there was some memorable music, which of course brings back a wave of nostalgia even today, when I listen to some of these songs. So yeah, it was all good.
Unbelievable. Those songs, honestly, 2019, and we still love them so much. And actually, talking about that music, I mean, a lot of those old songs have been remade so many times. What are your views on that?
Well, like I say, it's old wine in new bottles, and why not? Why not? Because, now that music goes on, to the next generation and the next and next, and it's the way of the world.
Do you think it's a phase and that it will kind of slowly die down, or
No,
not really?
No. I mean, look at all the number of times that Devdas has been made, right from Yusuf Saab to, Shah Rukh, and, so that's the way of the business, yeah.
And I think with Asha Bhosle's voice, Ali Burman, and you being on screen, did you ever meet Asha Bhosle? Did you ever speak to her? And what was your relationship like with her?
Not at that time. Not at that time. Because I was just focusing on my lines and what I was doing and, where I was going with my work. But over the years, yes, I've, done quite a few shows with her. And my gosh, she's in her 80s and she's still going strong. She's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, was it after Hare Rama Hare Krishna you decided, well, before that you decided you didn't want to stay in India and you wanted to just kind of
It wasn't my decision. My parents were moving.
Right.
And they were moving to Europe, and we'd already shipped all our stuff out. And Dave Saab at that point said, because we'd shot in Kathmandu and come back, he said, just hang in there and wait until the film is released and then take a call. So the film was released, and the audiences liked the character of Jasbir Janice, and I was given a Filmfare Award for that part. And he said, I think you have a career in Hindi cinema. And then he wrote some scripts for me, including Kira Panna and Ishq Ishq Ishq, and then other producers signed us up for films like Warrant and Darling Darling and so on and so forth. And then Nasir Hussain made Yadon Ki Barat, and Churalia was a hit, and Dhun was a hit. And then there were films like Dostana and Lavaris and Dawn and Kurbani. And then came Satyam Shivam Sundaram. So it just, one thing led to another, and then before, in the blink of an eye, 15 years had gone by.
My God. Yado Ki Barat, tell us, how did that one happen for you?
Actually, I was in Mahabaleshwar at, there was a very, very old and quaint hotel that we would stay in, and the dining area was a little far away, removed from the cottages, and I was walking down with some coconut water, and Nasir Hussain, who'd done a lot of very successful films at the time with Asha Parekh, he saw me walking with this coconut water, and he said, "Who is this very fresh-faced girl with this coconut water? I want to know, So this is, she's Zeenat Aman, and she's working with Devanan." And he said, "Oh, okay, she's already in the business." So he sent somebody to approach me for the film and sign me up. And subsequently, I did a special appearance with Rishi Kapoor in his next project as well, Hum Kisi Se Kam Nahi, where we did the Qawwali, where, Hum Kisi Se Kam Nahi. Yeah, so it's all good.
So it was all about the coconut water in Mahabaleshwar?
No, it was about the fresh face.
The fresh
coconut water.
Chura liya hai tumne jo dil ko. Again, iconic. White jumpsuit, the guitar, your dance moves. Tell us a little memory that you have about that song.
Nasir Sahab had been working with Asha Parekh ji, who, they gave some amazing hits together. But she was a, classical dancer and had a particular style. And then he did dress me up, in that style with a very tight pink shalwar kameez and a blue waistcoat. And somehow that was just not me. So if you see the scene that precedes that song, you will see this very gawky, gangly girl in a tight shalwar kameez with her hair tied up, looking quite ridiculous. And I told him, I said, "Nasir Sahab, this is just not working for me." So he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "You know what, we leave my hair loose and be Western and do culottes." And he said, "Okay, so we'll try that." And we did. And that's the visual that's there today.
And that worked.
Yeah, that
Much
worked.
better than the pink salwar kameez and the
Yeah.
waistcoat, I think,
Yeah.
for sure. I don't think I could imagine that song in that. Now, of course, I think it was during the 70s where a lot of articles were being written with a lot of exaggeration, a lot of masala, and it was just overly done. How did you kind of overcome the media, whatever was being written at the time? I mean, did it affect you in any kind of way?
Today you have your trolls.
Yeah.
So then you have people there, taking you down a peg or two with their version or their perspective of what, you were doing. It was difficult to deal with because I think the era of gossip journalism started at the same time that my career did, whether it was Stardust or Cineblitz or all these magazines who wanted to put me on their cover but then write a lot of scandalous stuff about me. So, but that was par for the course. And I dealt with it as a different entity. That it has nothing to do with me. It is a persona created by the media for public consumption, which really doesn't relate to who I am or what I do. And that's how I dealt with it.
And what about your family? How did they deal with it? What about your family? How did they deal with it?
Well, I was very close to my mother, and she was like my business manager, and she realized what was going on. So it was, one took it in one stride, especially when there were articles written which had not even a small iota of truth in them. Yeah.
And like you mentioned, nowadays we have trolls. Social media today, what is your view on that? I mean, are you glad that it didn't exist when you were working?
It was a different time the digital world did not exist at all. And I always say this, that movie stars were movie stars at the time. There were films went on to do Silver Jubilee, Golden Jubilee. There were these wonderful grand premieres, and people came out to see their favorite stars. The stars were not on every TV channel promoting their films, easily seen and easily available. So there was an aura about people who worked in the business. That was real stardom.
Now, let's move on and talk about Ajnabi. Rajesh Khanna, of course, ruling the industry, ruling millions and millions of hearts. What was it like at that time working with him?
Oh, he was the phenomenon, and we were all completely awestruck. Completely awestruck. And I think he was just married to Dimple, when I started working with him, and he was just the hugest star. He had all these wonderful hits, and women had killed themselves over the fact that he'd gotten married. Literally. Girls had committed suicide because Rajesh Khanna got married. So you to be on set with somebody who had this aura. I was making sure I knew my lines and I knew what I was doing, and I was not going to muck up, but it turned out okay. Yeah. He was very fond of writing his lines on cue cards that were all over the place. So, all his gestures, look up, look down, look there, pick up your lines, and continue here. So I figured, okay, I'm doing okay, I know my lines, I can deliver.
There you go, some trivia there for you, my God. Now, you were quite punctual on set. I think there was one time where you were not. I think you were about an hour late or something. But who was the co-star that you worked with that was always late on set?
No, I was, only once I was late. Right. Yeah. Oh, you really want me to name names now? Mr. Shatrughan Sinha. He would come on, if it was a 9 o'clock shift, he would come after lunch. We'd done all my solo shots, and they'd set up the entire camera, set up for, to do the whole scene, with all the work that we had to do. And he would come there and change all the lights and all the angles, But he has an amazing photographic memory. Amazing. And he would read the scene a couple of times and know all his lines. So he made up, he made up for time lost by getting the work done very quickly.
Wow, my God. What was your first film with Amitabh Bachchan?
The first film that we did together was Roti Kapda Aur Makan. We were not cast opposite each other. I was cast opposite Manoj Kumar and Shashi Kapoor, but he was also in that film. Then subsequently, I think we did Dawn, Lavaris, Pukar, Mahan, and Great Gambler, Do Lafzon Ki Hai, Dev Ki Kahani, I have a little story about that.
Tell us.
Sana. I meet a lot of people who said they saw the film, Great Gambler, and they went for their honeymoon to Venice, and that song contributed to an explosion of the Indian population. Really, I met a lot of people who said that, we saw that movie and we went to Venice. And that was that.
And that was that then.
That was that.
Now, if I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong, you knew Amitabh Bachchan before he became a superstar.
You seem to have done your research very well.
I hope so.
Yes.
What was he like before that?
Gangly, tall, unsure of where his career was going. He was dating my best girlfriend, so we went out a lot together, yeah.
And did you kind of see a change from before you knew him, before the superstars, to when he became the megastar?
Not really, because he was always that person when he was not in front of the camera. You know, he was always that person, funny, naughty, friendly, nice, yeah.
Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Would you say doing that movie was a risk for you?
Absolutely, completely. And Raj Kapoor was so uncertain about casting me because I had been accepted by the audiences in a very westernized genre. So for him to be casting me as a tribal girl with a burnt face was a challenge for him. And when he actually did sign me, he did a show reel, which in my mind was, it's with the archives at the RK studio, which is far more beautiful than the actual film. And when he showed that one reel to distributors, they signed the film on the dot. They said, Zeenat Aman, absolutely, she's on. We shot that to Nargis ji's Jago Mohan Pyare, you know, on that song. He did a show reel, yeah.
And would you say, in comparison to the other directors that you worked with, how different was it working with Raj Kapoor?
He was a legendary director, and every actor, you know, what their sort wanted to work with him. I had worked with him as a co-star before because we were doing several films. We did comedy called Gopi Chand Jasoos. We did a film called Vakil Babu. We had worked together, but I'd not been directed by him. So I really did want to work with him as a director. Anushka, I think, as an actor, I've worked with the most actor-directors, whether it's Feroz Khan, Amjad Khan, Sanjay Khan, Devanand, O.P. Ralhan, Manoj Kumar. Most of these, they're all actor-directors, and they all bring something extra to the table. And most of them are very passionate about their work, which Rajji was, extremely passionate. He had life-size cutouts of his character Rupa all over the farm. And it can be very narcissistic for any actor, you know, to walk around the farm and see these huge life-size cutouts of yourself every day. But it wasn't me. It was the character, because he was just so passionate about Rupa. That's the way he was.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Now, was Devanand upset with you that you were working with Raj Kapoor?
I read about that.
So did I.
That makes two of us. No, see, it's all about perception. It really is. I've been working with Raji. He was my co-star. He was in the process of signing me for his film. I didn't know that Dev Saab felt slighted over that, and I didn't know what was playing on his mind, so I'm perfectly innocent.
Carefree, innocent, and just doing your thing.
Yeah, I'm an actor. I wanted to work with everybody, and I was. Yeah.
And you did. You did. Now, you briefly mentioned Feroz Khan. Tell us how Qurbani came to you.
Feroz Khan, another legendary director, larger than life, lot of swag, very stylish man in his life and his living, and he called me up for a film to do a secondary part with, I think, Himaji, I'm not sure who was the leading lady in that. And I was wanting to grow, so I said no to him. And he couldn't believe somebody had said no to him, so he went, well, he said a few things on the phone that he shouldn't have said.
What did he say?
No. Not to be repeated. You know, but you get the general idea, yeah. And that was that. That was the end of that conversation. But he remembered that I had said no, so he came back to me with the leading part in the next film. Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Now, you know, some of the roles that you said no to, did you ever think at one point, oh, I maybe should not have said no to that?
No, I was very clear that I did not want to play a secondary part in his film. Yeah. So, no regrets on that, because look, I did Qurbani.
Yes. Now, Zeenat, being an actor, it comes with a full package. You deal with the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows. How did you deal with all these emotions, the roller coaster of emotions that actors go through?
You mean on camera or off camera?
Off camera and on camera, both.
On camera, if you believe in your craft, then you bring whatever you can from the experiences that you have to what you do. And I've always been a director's actor. And to me, it never mattered who my leading man was. It always mattered who my director was. And if I was doing the right thing by, as a performer, so that my director was satisfied with his visual or what he had conceived. So in front of the camera, emotions were never a problem. Off camera, you learn to deal with life. You have to, because there are highs and lows in everybody's life, and you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you move on. And that's the way it works.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned earlier that your mother, you're quite close to her, and she was your business manager. How did your relationship with your mother develop over the years?
My parents were separated when I was 2 years old, so my mother was the person closest to me. She was my best friend, and very dear, still very dear. Lost her many, many years ago, but she was one of the favorite people in my life.
Now, do you remember the time where you kind of sat down and thought, okay, I don't want to do films anymore? Do you remember that very day?
No, it was not a day. It was over a period of time, and I've been working. When people watch films, they tend to identify their stars with glamour. But for the actor who's actually performing, it's just work. So for 15 years non-stop, for me, I had worked with blinkers on. It was studio home, studio home, studio home. So much so that today when people say that you made such successful films, it was never validated for me at the time because I was just so busy working. I was just working around the clock. I mean, I worked in about 80 movies as a main female protagonist. So I never had time to sit back and enjoy any of that. So when I was ready to give it up, I knew that I was ready to give it up because I wanted to start my family.
And when you look at the bunch of actors that we have today, I mean, they're all so amazing. Who would you say has the passion and has the drive the most, male or female?
It's, for anybody who is a success story, you cannot be that successful without passion and drive. You have to love what you do, you have to persevere with what you do, and you have to bring everything that you've got to the table. And then, if luck favors you, then you make it. So I think all our young people who are working in all these films, they're just very good at what they do.
Any particular names that you can possibly?
Well, look at all the current youngsters, whether it's Alia or Ranveer or Deepika or Priyanka. Yeah.
Now, wanted to touch upon the current Me Too movement that is going on in Hindi cinema at the moment. What are your views on that?
Me, personally, I think it's very important to validate women. It's important to validate women in all sections of life, whether it's protecting the girl child, whether it's working towards eradicating poverty and creating some kind of institutions for young girls, whether it is promoting fair education for girls, because I think education is a key to a successful and independent life. And gives young girls and young women the opportunity to create their own future. I think women need to be respected in the workplace, and they should be paid properly for the work that they do, for sure.
Yes.
Now, when you look back at your career today, pathbreaker, trendsetter, iconic, legendary, how does that actually make you feel? I mean, even the show reel that we had just before you came on, it brought back a whole load of memories for us. But for you, how does that make you feel?
You know, I'm in a position now, at this stage in my life, to say, you know what? I did okay. Because at the time I didn't know that I was doing okay. You know, just running from one set to another set. Raj Kapoor used to call us taxis, you know, Shashi Kapoor and myself, because we were shooting for one film in the morning and another film in the afternoon, and we were getting the names of the characters confused. You know. Yeah. So at that time we were just running around working, you know, but now it's all good. Yeah.
Like when you look back, I mean, so many big movies, so many super hit songs. I mean, you know, do you listen to your songs every day or every other day? Do you, when it comes on TV, what do you feel? When you switch on the TV, what does it make you feel if your song is coming on?
You know, I really don't. I really don't feel anything. Sorry.
That's, I mean, for us, when I watch it, when I put it on the TV or I play your song on the radio, I'm just like, wow, this is quite incredible, you know. You look back and it's such a strong library and of movies that you've done, and I think you have given us such a wonderful era of Hindi cinema that we still watch today. So thank you for that.
No, thank you for having watched that. And thank you for validating, you know, the time, you know, that I spent in the studios. I always say that it's important for any artist, any performing artist, whether you're a painter or a writer or, you know, you work in theatre. It's so important to know that you've reached your audiences and they appreciate the work that you have put in. So, thank you. Thank you all so very much. Thank you.
And another question, Zeenat ji, I want to ask you. What advice would you give to in any field, whether it's entertainment, whether it's corporate, the revolutionary people who are making a difference? What advice would you give to them or anybody that is stepping out into the big bad world of working? What one thing would you say to them?
Believe in yourself. Stand by your conviction. Persevere. Be prepared to fail. Don't give up. Keep going. And don't lose the passion. Don't lose the passion.
Passion is the most important, isn't it? Okay, now I am going to open up the questions to our audience here this evening. So if you would like to ask a question, feel free to put your hand up and we'll get a mic over to you. So I believe we have a lady over here. If we can get a mic over there for a question. And also if you can give your name as well, please, that would be wonderful. Yeah, that's it right in the middle. Thank you.
Hello, Zeenat. My name is Alisa.
Oh,
Hello.
hi, good evening.
Sorry. I've been watching your film all the time, and I really do watch all the time from now on. I would like to know what's your secret. Why are you looking so same as before?
Thank you for your kind words. I wish I could agree with you 100%. I will meet you 40% of the way. The rest is a very good makeup artist.
We all do.
Thank you.
If you could just pass the mic just right behind you to the gentleman. Thank you.
I can't believe I'm actually talking to you. So for my generation, you will not see Zeenat Aman, you've always any baby. And I have an 8-year-old son, and when I was coming here, I said I'm going to meet Zeenat baby and leave.
Oh, how wonderful for a girl in her 60s to be called Zeenat baby. Thank you.
When my days are done, I can say that I've actually spoken to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the mic just passed on behind you? Thank you.
थैंक यू जीना जी, सबसे पहले तो हम दिल की गहराइयों से आपको खुश आमदीद कहते हैं। आपका स्वागत है, इस्तेमाल है। मुद्दों पहले आपको फिल्मों में देखा, आज भी उससे ज़्यादा हसीन हैं और खूबसूरत हैं।
शुक्रिया, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, तहे दिल से शुक्रिया।
हिंदुस्तान फिल्म इंडस्ट्री की जब तारीख लिखी जाएगी तो जीनत अमान का नाम सरे फहरिस्त होगा और लोग आपको मुद्दों याद रखेंगे। मेरा सवाल नहीं है, सोचता हूँ कि एक एक्टर जो है उसके अंदर खुदादाद सलाहियतें होती हैं, वो एक्टर बनता है या उसे कोई एकेडमी बनाती है। अगर उसे एकेडमी बनाती है तो आज के जो एक्टर हैं वो इतने देर पा क्यों नहीं होते, उन्हें लोग इतना देर तक क्यों दिल की गहराइयों में महसूस नहीं करते। जो मोहब्बत हम आपके लिए आज देख रहे हैं वो उनके लिए क्यों नहीं है। बहुत शुक्रिया।
नहीं, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है। इस वक्त फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में बहुत काबिल लोग हैं, बहुत अच्छी तरह से अपना कला पेश करते हैं। उनको शायद इतना वक्त मिला नहीं है कि एक बॉडी ऑफ वर्क इस्टेब्लिश करे, और शायद आपके नेक्स्ट जनरेशन उनको इतना चाहेंगे जितना the past generations have enjoyed my work.
Can we have the mic passed over to the gentleman in the brown jacket, please? Oh, we got one at the top already.
Right at the back here. Good evening, Zeenat. I'm hopelessly infatuated, I must say.
Where is this infatuated individual? Okay, all right.
Since the 70s, actually. My name is Fire.
Gee,
Okay.
good evening, Faro.
Good evening, yes. My question is that why don't we see you in the Hindi movies today?
It's very difficult to have age-appropriate roles in India, in the context of commercial Indian cinema, and that's basically it. And as a parent, really, and as a single parent who's been a single parent for many years now, my focus has been on my sons more than anything, because they lost their father about 20 years ago, and I have been more focused on them than on anything else.
Right, excellent. Thank you very much.
And we have a question here from the gentleman in the brown jacket.
Hi, Zeenat, how are you?
Hi, would you stand up so I can see who you are? G.
So, I think my question for you would be, because I've watched your films, I mean, I'm a huge fan of your character as Roma, and of course as Rupa in Satyam Shivam Sundaram, and many of your roles have actually been, they broke the stereotype of a traditional Hindi cinema heroine. So what kind of drove you to choose those characters?
I had to choose from what came to me. And once I was accepted in the characters that I was, then the parts were written for me accordingly. Whether it was in films like Manoranjan or Chori Mera Kaam, or Roma, these parts were actually written for me. So yeah, it just worked, and nothing succeeds like success. So that's the way it is.
Thank you. And one final question, please. Where's the mic? I can't see the mic. There we go. And if you can, could you stand up, please? Thank you.
Hello, it's me over here.
Hi, good
I'm not
evening.
going to flirt with you like the rest of the men.
Okay.
Sorry, could you repeat that again,
I
please?
said you're embarrassing me. I've had a girl crush on you since I was a kid. And you're an icon for us. And I think everyone, you're universal. Yeah, it's a different type of flirting. The men were like, just what I'd like to ask is that there's a crossover for British Asian actors and performers who want to go over to Bollywood and establish themselves, whether as musicians or actors, etc. But we would like, as in British theatre, some of your talents to come over to British UK theatre. Would you consider working in UK theatre, which is not as glamorous as Indian theatre, but we do need extremely good role models in theatre? And I know you're saying about age-appropriate work. There is plenty in the UK, in film industry, UK British film industry as well. Would that be an option that you would consider? And
sure, I think any performer the world over, would likes to work, in different forms of art, whether it is theatre or cinema, and given the opportunity in working in a language that they're comfortable in, absolutely. Not just me, you would have any actor in India who would be happy to do that.
And the second part of my question is that, bearing in mind some of the stuff that you asked about #MeToo, in terms of human rights and promoting the arts, we would really like icons like yourselves to come and work over in Britain to raise human rights issues for artists in South Asia.
It's something to think about for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Zeenat, before we do wrap up, a final message from you for all your well-wishers and all your fans over here this evening.
Thank you. I started my career 1971. It's been a long, long journey. But the fact that you are still here this evening in 2019 and applauding the work that I did, it's been a very long journey. I just want to say thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Zeenat. You have been absolutely incredible. It's been an honour for us to have you here as part of the opening gala for the UK Asian Film Festival. And before we do let you go, we have something for you. I'd like to call upon stage Chanchal Chaudhary, the original supporter backer of the UK Asian Film Festival, for just a token of appreciation for you, Zeenat. So can we have a big round of applause for Chanchal Chaudhary, please? And we would like to award you with the Tongues on Fire Golden Flame Award for the Revolutionary Icon.
Zeenat, I say to you, it's a great honor to present you this trophy. Just assure you, we have waited as long as you've taken to come over here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'd just like to have a quick photo opportunity. Thank you very much. Zeenat, once again, thank you so much for being here. It really has been a honor.
Thank you, Anushka. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zeenat Aman, the iconic, thank you for being a wonderful audience. Don't forget, we have got the screening of the opening film which is coming, and there will be an in-conversation with the producer post the movie, so make sure you stick around. Thank you very much. Enjoy the movie, and most importantly, enjoy the UK Asian Film Festival 2019. Thank you.